Oh crap, babe! I forgot to add the discretion thing, but we're okay. We'll be all right, right, babe?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's up, guys? What's up?
Viewer discretion.
Viewer discretion is advised. If we curse, just calm down.
Yes.
Botrix joined. The bot joined, babe. All day I was streaming. The bot didn't join, and now it joined, so that's good.
Well, you weren't talking very nicely to the bot.
Well, uh, what's up, Amanda, Carrie, Jesse, Sarah, Jen, mom and dad are here. Donnie, Dom's mom, Charlotte, awake in England.
Deja's here. I hope you're feeling good, Deja.
Jesse, Shalma. What's up, guys? Carrie, did I say Carrie? Lily, Paulie. Thanks for being here, guys. We appreciate it. Ashy's here. Guys, what's up, Jumpman23? Guys, we're really excited for our first Creators Who Crushed of 2024, and this was set up by Chris Duet, and I have his tweet here. I want to share this.
Fuck with you, buddy.
Oh, I forgot to turn off the sound effects.
We're gonna be pals. We're gonna.
Sorry, Chris Farley. Let me turn that off. Thank you for being a member, Jesse Charles, for 2 months. So let me just share real quickly this screenshot from Chris Duet, who says, "Fun fact: Lance and Tim got me into podcasting and acted as selfless mentors. So if you thought my shit sucked, blame them. This stream should be great, though. Everyone involved is top tier, and we've said this before." If Chris recommends you, you're good in our book. So, gotta thank Chris for setting this up for us. Go ahead, Ben.
Well, I mean, also like Tim and Lance are like OG true crime podcasters. So if you're a true crime person, you definitely know who they are. If you've ever gone to Crime Con, they have like a line out the door waiting for them. So we feel especially lucky to have them with us tonight.
Absolutely, and all the links are in the description if you want to check them out on Twitter and the podcast. And as we always say, give it 5 stars, get it in the algorithm. So, without further ado, Tim and Lance, what's going on, guys?
Hello, how's it going tonight?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Shannon, thank you for giving us a few extra people at CrimeCon that come to see us. Are you confusing us with Generation Y?
No, you guys have people that love you. You have a line.
I am cracking up at that tweet, though. Chris's tweet. That's hilarious.
Chris is awesome. Great. And that's awesome. So, I mean, real quick, why don't you tell the folks how you got involved in contact with Chris and how you helped him out?
That's where I mute and Tim goes.
No, Chris is awesome. We met him because he had written an article or two, I think, with Vice about how he corresponded with serial killers. And we just met him through Twitter, and we had, I think, just started Crawlspace, and just kind of was like, you want to come on and talk about your experience writing with all these, killers. We found it really interesting, and he was a great interview and just a lot of fun to talk to, and just like a normal dude, like I feel like we think we are. And then he wanted to launch his own podcast, so we helped him with Criminal Perspective when it premiered, and what a great show! My God.
Yeah, he had some great guests and just some great interviews. So good for you guys for helping him out, and a new guy who needed that help. But if you could give us your background before you got into podcasting. Lance, you go first.
Okay, that's out of the order, so I might screw up. But no, before podcasting, I was doing the rounds as the service industry, and then I got into the events industry, doing event planning and setting up and breaking down, and doing the working with the designers on like the different types of themes that would happen at all of these different events, different mitzvahs, weddings, and nonprofits, like the charitable events, the fundraisers. And Tim and I have always been involved in some level, in some form of theater or film. We did a few short films together, a couple of like indie features together. And Tim was in LA working on his craft out there while I was doing the event stuff. And then when he came back, we started to work together on wedding videos and sort of like corporate type videos. editing and everything. And that's when we discovered our first true crime rabbit hole that started the podcast and started this.
Very cool. Go ahead, Tim, and then I guess you could talk about that and that podcast. Talk about that too.
Sure. Yeah. So that was around 2012 that we started doing the wedding videos and things like that. And Lance got interested in this case of a missing person from New Hampshire, Maura Murray. It's a very well-known case. If you haven't heard it or heard of it, it's actually the 20-year anniversary of her disappearance tomorrow. She went missing in North Haverhill, New Hampshire on February 9th, 2004 at around 7:30 p.m. On a sort of a cold, dark turn there. But Lance got interested in sort of what was developing around the case, which was the culture of web sleuths. And so we had been doing some video work and things like that for a little while. I went back to LA for another year or so, and we kind of came up with the idea to make a documentary about the culture that was obsessed with not just like true crime, but that specific case. So we actually filmed a few things for that, and this is like 2013 or 2014, and it was coming along slowly, but we weren't able to get interviews with the people we really wanted to talk to, who were frequent commenters online in that case. And so the original idea was to launch a podcast, and I had a little bit of experience doing podcasting I was doing like a fantasy football podcast and a comedy podcast for a little while. It was a lot of fun. So at least I knew how to do it technically. And so we started Missing Maura Murray, never expecting it to be very popular. I mean, really, the conceit is very kind of a very hyper niche idea. But James Renner, who is a popular writer and was doing a popular blog on the case at the time, posted about it, and that most of the readers on that blog listened to the first episode, and I think like it wasn't perfect by any means. It wasn't even close, but I think that for some reason that's what people kind of grabbed a hold of with it. And also because we were like accessible and we'd respond to emails on the show and things like that. So we knew we weren't getting facts right. And really that wasn't the even intention. We never expected so many people would be listening, but once they did, we started kind of taking it a little more seriously and understanding, what we could do with that platform.
So I'm curious, when you say commenters back then, what was it, blogs? Where were the majority of commenters that you were trying to get, in contact with?
It's mostly like Reddit and James Renner's blog.
Okay.
Which like really stood out, and any YouTube videos that were posted on the disappearance had similar comments. But it was like you see the first one, and then you think to yourself, that's a interesting comment, that's insightful information, that's a useful piece of information that this person is suggesting. And then 4 or 5 later, like, how are they talking about this now? And then 4 or 5 later, it's evolved or devolved into a ridiculous like back and forth argument that's just so intense that it makes you wonder, how did it all start up here, and now we're just 15 comments later, and now we're just wrapped up in this like intense argument. Are we talking about the same thing right now? So that's where Tim and I were like fascinated. We're like, it's not just this one platform either, it's on all of the comments.
Right. And I'm curious, how has it evolved since then? I mean, you've been doing this for a while. I'm assuming that's gotten worse. Am I incorrect in that has gotten worse with people, or is it the same from then?
I don't know.
Yeah, probably not worse, but
or more places, maybe
little...
like Twitter, or was it the same, different places maybe now?
I would say there's definitely more places now. Every website is his own, corner, and can have like a huge community, and unbeknownst to so many other people. So, yeah, I mean, I think Reddit is probably the most common place today. But there's like several subreddits, on the case and everything. And yeah, I think part of what it is with that case is, at least back then, I think things have changed a little bit since Julie has, really been, way more public with advocating for her sister's case. But, years ago, people would really like sort of wrap their personality into their theory. And if you disagreed with their theory, you were like calling them an a-hole, like to them, like it was, very offensive. So I think that it got very personal. And then there was just like intense trolling, like anonymous, threatening, creepy, almost like if you'd watch like one of those Morgan Freeman serial killer movies, like Kiss the Girls or something like that. It was almost like someone was inspired to like imitate what those serial killers, like cliche things, like would come up with in those scenarios. Whether or not it's a real criminal, hurting people, I have no idea. But they certainly were inspired by like that kind of idea.
So, go ahead, babe. I see you going.
I was just going to say that I listened to it, but not right when you made it, but still when you were making episodes. So I binged like the first of it, and it sort of felt like you're like, for people who haven't listened to the podcast and don't remember this time and on the internet, you kind of felt like Blair Witch Project-ish, where you felt like you're moving along with the two of you, through these personalities of people that are just bizarre. And you find yourself like wondering, like, how do they know all these things? And so then you like inadvertently become involved also, because you start theorizing about why the theorizers are theorizing. And it really drew you in and down a rabbit hole. It was like Catfish, where they're, driving out, and in that scene with Nev Schulman, and they're like, oh my God, she doesn't exist, and all this stuff. I had those similar feelings from that podcast. Were you guys scared ever? Because you had some bizarre stuff happen, I feel like.
I mean, there was like unnerving moments. Yeah.
Unnerving.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely unnerving moments. Stories we haven't told in a while,
Right.
But I really haven't thought of in a while too. But yeah, certainly like how Lance got initially involved. I don't know if you want to share that story, Lance. I know you've shared it before, but it's really creepy.
Yeah, I'll do it real quick. I don't want to take up too much time with it, but it is exactly what you're talking about, which is like,
yeah,
what Tim was talking about, what Shannon's talking about, these moments where people will create a scene or a scenario that seems to be inspired by one of these, mediocre serial killer movies, by taunting people, creating like some real riddle, and using the platform, like the technology that we have, YouTube. So we're, working in this like abandoned, or like 80% abandoned, industrial type building, where we had one office space there, which was probably like, I don't know, 8 by 12 feet. And that's where we do our editing. And it was one night, I was just doing some editing on a wedding video and doing some rendering. And I had my laptop next to me, and I was following the Maura Murray disappearance for, I don't know, a few months at that point, maybe a year or something. I don't really remember, but it was long enough where I was like keeping track of James Renner's blog. And there had been this video that had been posted on YouTube that James Renner had found, or somebody had directed him to it, that had just been titled Maura Murray. Somebody had done a Google search of Maura Murray, and they came up with this video on YouTube that was just titled her name. And James Renner had this blog post where it was a link to the video, and the video was just a slow, like Ken Burns style zoom in to this ski ticket, this cross-country ski ticket to Bretton Woods, which is a ski resort in New Hampshire, up around the area where Maura disappeared. And the date of it was the day after or the day before. I can't remember right off the top of my head. It was like 2 days after her disappearance. That was the date on the ski ticket. It might have been like February 11th or February 12th, 2004. So
I thought it was the date. Yeah.
Was it the date? We'll just go with that.
But
It was the date of the. It was the. Either way, it was close enough where it was suspicious because James was like, "What the hell is this?" So I'm there looking at the video. That's weird. The person who posted the video went by the handle of 112 Dirtbag or Mr. 112 Dirtbag, and the route that she disappeared on was Route 112, and it was really well publicly known that her father, Fred, in one of the newspaper articles have been quoted by saying it was probably a local dirtbag that took her. So that was the name of this guy who posted the video. So very suspicious. So I was looking at the YouTube page and I was refreshing. He only had one video, and when I refreshed, it went from 1 to 2. And I was like, oh, shit. He's just posted a new video. So I click on it, and I'm the first view of this video. And it was titled Happy Anniversary. And this was the night before, I think, the anniversary. So, like, however, when was that, Tim? 2015, that I said? Or 16?
It might have been like 12. Yeah, 12 or 13 or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
12. Yeah.
So
this is like 11 or 12 years ago.
So it's like a dozen years ago. My God. So I watch it, and it's just this old man with glasses with a like stone background as if he's in the basement, and he's lit in this dim red light, and he's got this classical music playing, and he's just rocking back and forth. And when I say laughing, I mean he's cackling. I mean he's like cackling at the camera, and the classical music's playing, and I'm watching it like it was the classic hair is standing up on the back of your neck type thing. And this is probably 10 o'clock at night at this industrial building that I'm all alone in, and it's rocking back and forth, cackling, and then the music stops, and he just stops cackling suddenly, winks at the camera fades out, and the title Happy Anniversary comes up. So I actually had James's number, so I think I texted him and I was like, did you see the new video? And he said, what new video? And he calls me, or I called him, I can't remember. Either way, we get on the phone, and I was like, the guy has a new video. I just watched it. I was the first person, and I can hear James watching it, and I hear the guy cackling, and I hear James saying to himself, like, this is incredibly disturbing. I was like, so what do we do here? So things like that. So that's how I got like really involved with Maura's disappearance and understanding and trying to understand the types of people that post these things. So that was, and also one of the first times where it felt super real. Like this guy knows something and responsible
is right behind you.
Yeah. And he's also waiting by my car in the parking lot. But that was one of that was probably the kickoff of spooky events in entering the world of these trolls. Guy was like about as super troll as it gets.
Wow, that's a pretty wild. I would have probably been like, all right, I'm done following this stuff. That's
oh, the next 3 months was like following every video that he posted. He posted a number of videos. Some of them were like really telling. Some of them were really telling, like really suspicious. That hand sketches of Maura, all these codes like numbers, also videos of just like the driver's seat of a vehicle in the rain, the windshield wipers are going, and it's just this area around a corner where like just cars are coming around. And then there's one where he's like trying to put silly putty back into like the container, the egg container that it would come in if you get it in a vending machine, and he's like trying to push it back in, and he's calling himself Mr. 1974. So then it's like you're going down a rabbit hole of unsolved murders from 1974. Crazy.
Yeah. It's like, what is he trying to say with the silly putty?
Right. The silly
nothing,
putty itself is terrifying. just like on itself.
just as is.
Yes.
He's
Right.
sitting there. It's terrifying. But the police did talk to him. Like, he was questioned a number of times. Very disturbed individual. Strangely enough, a really, really good writer. He had a series of blog posts that was under a different, like, I don't know if it was a pseudonym or what, but it was completely, like, it was unrelated to Maura or any true crime thing, and it was really, like, really strangely good writing, like very observational, like very readable writing.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say he was an artsy guy, and even in his trolling, I think he would say that there was some like art there on his end. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
So that's where you guys.
His name was Alden.
Oh, sorry. What was his name?
Sorry, I was just answering Pam in the chat. Hi, Pam. His name was Alden.
Alden.
Where are you seeing the chat?
I think
little chat box. I didn't even see that little box there.
So that's kind of where you guys started. Now let's get into what you're doing now. You guys are doing so much stuff, and I have this website, the link set up. So let me change it to here. And you guys tell me where you want to start. I got the Dark Valley podcast. Tell us about that.
Yeah. Dark Valley's an amazing podcast about the River Valley Killer, or what's known on the internet, I guess, as the Connecticut River Valley Killer. That's probably the best way to search to get information. But our friend and partner in this project, Jennifer Amell, did an incredible job producing this show. I think it's 12 episodes, and she worked with the only known survivor of this serial killer. And there's a lot of cases that are covered. I think there's 7 primary cases that are covered in the podcast, and there's no guarantee that they're all that they all met their fate at the hands of the same person. But that's what the podcast explores. And the survivor of this killer was her name is Jane Borowski, and she was attacked and stabbed 27 times while 7 months pregnant.
Whoa.
Yeah. It's an absolutely wild story. Go ahead, Lance. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. The thing that makes this special is that Jen, who produced it, we were sort of the people behind the scenes, and Jen was the one that wrote the episodes. She fostered the relationship with Jane and all of Jane's people. They became amazing friends. Like, Jane is like family now. And it was produced with the approach of looking at the victims and telling the stories that way, looking at the victims and exploring their lives. Because once you do that, maybe you can have some answers to how they met their end. And whether or not it was the same person who attacked everybody, it's more about the way that these individuals, these young women, lived their lives, the circumstances that put them in the positions where they were either abducted, when they were abducted and they're, and subsequently found murdered, that leads to other elements that speak to the community, that speak to, if these things didn't happen, maybe, if people acted a little bit more responsibly or something. Like my one example in this is one of the victims was a bisexual woman who was living on the border of New Hampshire and Vermont in the mid 80s and trying to live her life as a bisexual woman, single mom, and was just brushed off by the police. Like, the chief of police basically said that whoever attacked her must have been real sick if they had her, and he went public and said that. So it's those types of moments that are, Jen and Jane really worked to highlight, to say these people had been marginalized. They had been put on the outskirts, and they had been sort of counted out by society for the most part. And this is what happened. And that's why, there have been no answers. That's not every single story. There are some that, are outliers that were, just frenzied attacks. But approaching it like that, approaching it from, I feel weird saying it as, like a 40 something male, but it was intentionally produced with a feminist perspective so that those stories could be more, I don't know, a stronger spotlight could be put on the people who didn't survive, those women who didn't survive. And Jane is the one who did survive. And she, you have to, go, if you haven't listened to it, listen to it. But there's numerous episodes where Tim and I would listen and I'd just be like, I can't finish this episode right now because it's too much. Like there's too much emotion happening right now. But it's really amazing. So we're super proud of it.
Yeah, guys. So make sure, like we always say, check it out, give it 5 stars, get it in the algorithm. And yeah, Sarah says happens so often that the marginalized are victimized and then dismissed. I mean, we're watching a case right now. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this case. There's a trial right now going on in Alaska, and it's 2 indigenous women who were murdered. And kind of the only reason they even found out about it is because this guy picks up a woman to drive around for like a date, and she finds a phone on the floor, and it's just like it's turned off, and then she finds like a memory card. She pulls up the memory card, and it's literally him on the memory card murdering a woman in a hotel. Yeah, and now there's the trial going on. He so they bring him down after they find who he is. This is in Alaska. He's got a very heavy South African accent, and they had been investigating for another case. So they bring him in. They start interrogating him, and he's like, they're going to leave for the day. He's like, you guys are leaving. I'm going to make you guys famous. He tells them about another case, like he confesses to. I mean, but murdered and missing indigenous women. And Rex Heuermann with like sex workers and Long Island serial killer. Just seems like these demographics they do that, these serial killers, because they know people aren't really paying attention or aren't going to investigate it the same as if it was someone different, I guess. So it just seems like that is a thing. Have you covered other cases where that's a similar
Oh yeah. Actually, Tim, what about the killer Sam Little? How that affected how that affected her.
Oh, the author, Gillian Lauren. We interviewed her maybe about 6 months ago. She wrote a really amazing book and really broke the story on Samuel Little, that he was responsible for so many murders. And really, I believe he's got the most victims as a serial killer in this country. And that's only been known in the last 10 years, mostly because of what she did. So she kept meeting with him, and he would draw these pictures and would talk about these victims. And she really sort of played him. He thought she was pretty, and would kind of sweet talk her, and she legit played him for info, and he knew it. She knew it. She knew that he knew. And that was kind of the arrangement. And so he would come up with any names and cities that he could remember, and he would draw them, the victims. And then he would she would research them, and she was working with FBI, and she would they actually connected several murders. And then since that started, they've connected, I don't know. I think it's up to 92 or 93 victims of his. And I think when she met him, he was only officially known for, in prison for 2 or 3. Wow. But she lived this story for years and met with him over and over. And the toll that took on her cannot really be expressed. And frankly, I don't want to go too deep into it here. Even just what we witnessed, because I don't want to, I don't know, shame or something like that, because it was absolutely amazing work. But she had her own trauma that she, I'm sure, is still working through. because of covering that story.
Yeah, that becomes sort of like I'm a therapist by trade. So that becomes sort of a situation where you're having all these confessional moments together. That becomes like there's transference and countertransference and all of those things. And, you know, those things are very human that happen. But then it really mind fucks you later because it's like, oh, wait, I don't want that to be going on in my head. But I wanted to just commend the both of you because in both of these situations, you were more behind the scenes and you realized that, you know, there was a woman at the center of the story and you let that play out. And that's really nice to see because that doesn't always happen. So folks, follow. We don't have to tell the Kins to go take a walk. We can live here with them.
I was say the smartest thing, and really like the only major decision we made in the production of Dark Valley was to let Jen take the lead on it, and that was like definitely the smartest thing I think we could have done on that.
Very cool. All right. Well, next tab I have up is the investigations for the missing. Tell us about that.
Well, that's cool because it kind of ties in with the individuals who have been in positions where they are abducted, they're missing, their family members have run out of resources because they come from marginalized communities or because they've been written off in some way. Private Investigations for the Missing was started by Bruce Maitland, whose daughter is also coming up on her 20th anniversary in March. Brianna Maitland disappeared from Montgomery, Vermont, March 19th of 2004. So her 20th anniversary is coming up as well. But Bruce started this nonprofit back in 2015. I think we first got the call from him. We had worked with him, talked with him about Brianna. He came on our other show, Crawlspace, to talk about Brianna and her disappearance. And we've done a number of episodes on Brianna, just like we did a number of episodes on Maura. And the cases are similar in the way that, you know, both individuals' cars were found, they weren't found, but after that, the stories deviate. But Bruce did the amazing thing that we always love, which is when a family member has gone through this trauma and is dealing with these situations, this tragedy in the family, they have come to terms with it in some way. And from that, they've taken that and turned it into something positive and useful for the greater good. And he started this so that he could offer the services of licensed private investigators at no cost to families to go take on cases and look for their missing loved ones. So the nonprofit essentially pays for the expenses of the private investigators. And it's really gotten to the point where I think so we have a board. Tim and I are on the board. And
yes.
Also on the board are former law enforcement lawyer, Bruce. Tim and I kind of do like the media side of it. We'll tell the stories of these missing individuals when we can, when we're allowed to, by Lou Barry, who is a former chief of police in Massachusetts. So he vets the cases as they come in. And it's crazy now, like the caseload. I don't want to say crazy in like a holy crap way, but it's like a holy crap. There's so many of these that are coming in now. He probably needs like a team to go through them, but they're all over the country now. And including a dog. Like we had a dog that Lou found for somebody, which was awesome. So this is something where Bruce saw the need, because he was just like, when no one wanted to look for Brianna, this is exactly what I needed. So, and it's brilliant too, because he was like, what do you type in to Google when you're looking for a private investigator for your missing loved one? Oh, you type in private investigations for the missing. So as non-technically savvy as Bruce will always say he is, this is the most brilliant working of SEO I've ever heard.
No, that's true. I think a lot of people who are Googling with this very problem will come across private investigations for the missing, and it's a serious niche as well, because it's almost exclusively cold cases that PIs for the missing will take on, because they don't want to get involved or don't want to mess up an active investigation. So that's kind of one of the first things, if it's a new case or active, PIs for the missing doesn't handle it. But yeah, there's 18 active cases. I'm just looking at some of this year-end data right now for 2023 that we got. There's 18 active cases, and more cases coming in each year. 180 cases submitted for review in 2023, and that's up like 100 from last year. So it is growing, and really impressive, because, or actually it's up. Wow, that's up 150 almost. But what I love about it especially is like when we do, because we're on the board, but we don't know like so much of the inner workings of it. I find that really impressive. I love like learning like, oh, we got this investigator that's former FBI, and he or she is in Nevada, and they're working a case, and they're getting somewhere, So it's like every meeting we hear something like that, and really only some of these cases can we talk about on the podcast. They've really got to fit into a very specific bucket for us to get it, and if we do, we love that, because then we're doing our part to help. And usually it involves like a family interview and telling the story, sort of the facts run through that family member, and the police, because that's the first thing that Lou will do really after sort of receiving it and looking at where and when it took place. He reaches out to the submitter, but he also reaches out to the police department to see if it's active, and if he can get any information, or if they would want him to look into it or not. So, because sometimes they're actually very open, and sometimes they're not, but you never know until you call.
So you guys tell me, where do you want to go next? I got all those.
Well, I have one question.
Oh, go ahead, babe.
I wanted to know, so you started out doing missing, and then you moved on to Crawlspace, was your next podcast right after that. Is that correct?
Yeah.
It was.
And then
it was
when did you become? Okay, so when did you decide, hey, we're going to become like a conglomerate? We're going to become like a media company or a parent company, or when did you decide that? Because that's so interesting.
I guess, yeah. So we launched Missing Maura Murray in 2015, Crawlspace in 2017. And then it was probably somewhere when we were approached to do our third podcast, which was called Empty Frames, which is on the Gardner heist of Boston in 1990. These 13 very famous pieces of artwork were stolen out of the Isabella Stewart Gardner Museum. So probably somewhere in that range is when we, looked at it more like a company, and we were meeting more people like Chris Duet, like we were talking about Chris Duet earlier. And we're like, well, come on our network. We're just calling it a loose network, and really just trying to help each other, like promote, to each other's audience. And we just met a lot of people online and through doing the podcasts, and that was really it. And it sort of had some like ups and downs. I don't know that like we're not really like a network per se now, but we certainly have a lot of podcast feeds.
Yeah, we started sort of networking, and we started opening up like the door to creators like Chris Duet, like LA Not So Confidential, True Crime Twins, Mind Over Murder, Bill Thomas, like though and it was all creators that were in our general, field. Like none of us were like, top 10 overall in the podcast, but we all had good numbers and we all loved what we were doing. We're all like successful creators, but joining together to co-elevate seemed to be the way to do it. So that's sort of what we wanted to do. We didn't want to get involved with like, hey, we'll sell ads for you or anything like that. It was all mostly like, if you have a question about good editing software, if you have a question about, a certain ad sales company that you might have had experience with, stuff like that, like, should we go to CrimeCon? Should we, not go to CrimeCon or live events? Just sort of bouncing ideas off of everyone. So, or off of each other. And that worked out, it worked out. It helped, I think, a lot of these, like, it helped a lot of the creators who might have felt a little bit unsure about moving forward because of something, whether it was technical or financial or, creative. They always had somebody to reach out to. So that was like the unofficial network, or I guess it was an official network, but it was not in the sense of like, hey, we're making money and selling ads.
I love it. I love that it came like from a grassroots thing. I already was really a big fan, and now I'm a bigger fan. And when Chris was like, hey, I think I could ask my friends Lance and Tim, and Jay hasn't been into true crime for long at all. He just started being into true crime. So he's like, Chris has these friends, I guess they podcast, or Lance and Tim. And I'm like, no way. Are you kidding? That's so cool. I was like, they would come on. So I just think it's so cool that you guys did this from like a grassroots type of way. Like it was like the, a rising tide lifts all boats kind of a thing. It wasn't like, oh, we're trying to get rich and we want to have underlings. So very cool.
I mean, don't get us wrong. We tried to get rich.
I mean, of course. But if you can also make your friends rich, then that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. But no, we never really wanted the responsibility, I think, of doing like the serious part of it. I think we were just really trying to help in that way. And well, thank you for inviting us on and everything. And we're very accessible, especially these days. So, don't
more accessible than we've ever been.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I am new to true crime, so I mean, we're kind of, and we have a bunch of creators on YouTube who are kind of trying to do the same thing that you guys are doing, where we're kind of reaching out to each other. The same, what streaming software should we do? Should we go to CrimeCon? I mean, the parallels here are pretty interesting because we're Bob Mata from Defense Diaries, Publicly Buzzed, Joe Jackalone, Cheryl Mack McCall. We just have a bunch of people, and we're all kind of learning YouTube at the same time. So it's a pretty similar kind of thing. So that's really cool.
The answer is yes. You should go to
that's exactly it.
Yeah, we should go.
Yeah. That's where it all happens. Like, that's where you meet all the people. It's so productive.
Well, we submitted our application, but we haven't heard anything, so I guess we'll see.
We're not holding our breath.
Yeah. So yeah, what
we can
what do you
just
guys
go. Yeah.
Yes.
Tell us which one of these you want to talk about. You tell me. I got all these links.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many because you asked for links, so we just wanted to do like a variety of different.
Well, that's the cool thing too. Is like you're doing like this is extraterrestrial discovery.
Okay. Let's talk about that for a moment. That one. Real quick.
This one?
Avi Loeb, the extraterrestrial. This story is crazy. You may have seen it's on like most news publications. They've covered it, but it's a really weird story to I feel like cover in a clear way, because God, Lance, I almost don't even know where to start. But so there is this meteor that entered the solar system and made it all the way to Earth. And I guess it has some properties that other meteors never had, says Avi Loeb. And he's a Harvard guy. Like, he's not some
renowned.
He's world renowned. Definitely controversial because of this theory and I think others, where I think a lot of astrophysicists don't really entertain the extraterrestrial stuff. But Avi pretty much says flat out he thinks that he may even be in possession of alien, like an alien artifact. So recently, in the past year, he captained a crew. I don't know if he captained this crew, but they took a boat out to where this meteor crashed in the Pacific Ocean, and apparently not that deep, like 200 feet or something like that down. And they actually like sort of like scraped the ocean floor for this material that they found. And so that's part of what's so weird about this is Avi wrote a book about this thing that passed through and landed on Earth like a while ago, and then he went out and found what he says is like an actual artifact of it on the bottom of the Pacific Ocean. So I don't know. I might have gotten some of the details wrong, but that's basically it.
No, that was good. That was good. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, essentially, like he's saying that these artifacts are like it's almost like a mineral or like a material that doesn't exist on Earth, and it's at a state where it would have had to have entered the atmosphere at a certain speed, which means that it came from a certain distance that is well beyond what we already know. So that's what he's saying, is that this is from another planet outside of our known solar system, and it's a material we've never seen. But Tim's point
And
is
it
like,
acted differently too.
we can't find Amelia Earhart's airplane, but Avi's like, I think it might be over here. And he finds it, and it's like you can hold, like it's this big. It's like a marble. But then there's a few of them. But this is an example of Crawlspace's like diversity when, as far as episodes go. If an article pops up in the news feed and it strikes one of our fancies, and we read the article and we reach out to whoever is the subject of the article, and they get back to us, we'll have them on. And this was one where like I remember like it was probably 10 years ago, there was a science fest at Harvard, and I went to it with my girlfriend, and he spoke at it. And I was like, this guy's not going to respond. This guy's not going to respond to an email sent through the form submission on his website or sent to the Harvard email address. And he wrote back like within like 2 hours. He's like, sure, I'll come on your show. He's done, he did so many like big media outlet interviews, and he came on. He was one of the better guests that we've had, but not without the share of controversy. But really, really interesting individual and episode.
That's awesome. And speaking of which, I was talking to you before. You guys have a episode that I think just recently came out on Biggie, Notorious B.I.G. Me and Shannon were listening to that, and that was so freaking good. So guys, check that out if you're into like hip hop and like the night. It was so good. How did that come about? Just another thing where you reached out to the guy who was doing it and see if he would come on?
That we get a lot of emails from, you probably do too, from like people promoting podcasts, new podcasts especially, and we'll get like publicist emails and author emails sometimes from publishers and things like that. Sometimes they're really interesting, sometimes they're not. This one was really interesting, and from someone that we knew. And we were just like, oh, this guy's really impressive. This guy, Don Sikorsky, who we interviewed, he's a journalist and had made a couple of documentaries on similar subjects about sort of murder in the rap community, and specifically Biggie and Tupac he gets into. And his show, I think, is called The Dossier. And it's really good. And he even speaks with a retired FBI agent on there who investigated those cases and
solved
like
it,
talks
right? I
about
mean,
how,
the guy solved the thing, and I mean that's wild.
yeah, pretty much. I mean, yeah, I guess it depends, maybe your perspective, but I think you're right. I mean, I think he kind of did.
Yeah, and let me just say, no, we don't get those requests. No one is reaching out to us. We had to have Chris email us to get you guys out. Oh no, I got one person, babe. We got tomorrow's interview was a person who reached out to me.
That's true.
That's the first person who has ever reached out to us. Go ahead. So.
I do get a lot of interesting requests that I don't entertain, but
well, babe gets them. I'm not getting those requests. She's getting those.
The same thing with
this is interesting because this guy follows me on Twitter, and I feel like he followed me from guys. My backstory is the first true crime case, and the only reason I'm here right now is from the Murdoch case. Is this guy from South Carolina or somewhere around there? Because I feel like he followed me. I was tweeting the Murdoch case, and that's how I kind of got popular. And this guy is super familiar, so I feel like he must have something to do
He
with
just moved. He just moved.
Yeah, he just to like Tennessee, I think. So
Yeah.
I don't remember where he moved from, but
Florida.
I thought it was it Florida?
I believe it was Florida. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this was a really interesting story. Really cool guy too. He's an animal lawyer. I think he's retired now from doing his lawyering. But we met him at CrimeCon. This is why it's so great to even go as an attendee, bring your cards because you'll meet so many people. And when I know when we meet someone like this who's got a story like this, we're like, oh, we got to get this person on immediately. They went all that way to CrimeCon to promote their thing, and the story is really interesting. So this is about the horse, a famous champion horse, Aladar, who was murdered. Actually, it seems like the horse was murdered for insurance money, and Fred M. Cray, there, the author of that book, he did a lot of work in interviewing people and sort of finding motive and who he thought did it and why. And really interesting story, and certainly not a typical one that we cover.
Yeah, which was what made it interesting, because Tim had come up to me. We had like all of the contact information after CrimeCon. He was like, "This guy is a animal lawyer, and it's this horse murder, and that's like something we've never done on Crawlspace. We should definitely do something like that." And that sounded like, oh my goodness, this is something that's going to be a lighter, refreshing change of pace. And by the end of it, I'm like almost crying, because he's talking about, because he's a huge animal lover, Fred is, and he was a huge horse lover. And he was talking about how majestic the horses are, and how how just he was at the worst place in his life, and he saw Aladar run, and it like changed his life, and he became like a different person. Like it brought him out of depression, and then just like going through the pictures of Aladar, and then seeing what they did to him, like they broke his leg, and then they had to put him. It was so tragic. And at the end, Fred has this wonderful statement about the state of horse racing. Just amazing. It's an amazing, like, unexpectedly emotional interview. When you just, because when you first hear it, you're like, oh, you're a animal lawyer, and it's kind of amusing. Like, oh, and then he's telling stories about how, like, what he does, and then he goes into this, and man, really hits you.
Makes me think of Charlie from
Yep.
It's Always Sunny, Bird Law.
We make that joke in the episode.
Oh, do you? What else we got? By the way, I'm curious, how long does it take you guys to make like an episode? How long does it take with the interview, the production? How long does an episode take?
Well, inexplicably, Tim can edit an hour episode in like a half hour, and it takes me like 2 days.
Wow.
That's fair.
Yeah, like a day or so, probably. Find the subject, and then schedule, record, edit, and then post. But yeah, no longer than a day.
I just tweeted out today, like I just started editing videos, and I had no idea how freaking long it takes to make these things. Like even just like a minute long video takes like me like an hour or two. I'm like, what am I doing? But yeah, it's a lot harder than you think, folks. If you've never tried to edit something, it is difficult.
Yeah. That's like the rule of thumb, right? Like 1 minute equals an hour of editing.
Yeah, that's what I'm learning. That's what I'm learning. Except I'm like 2 hours because I'm not very bright. It's like it can take a while. But babe, did you have anything? I feel like you.
No, I realized we didn't even ask how you guys met.
Tinder.
Oh, yeah, right. Way before Tinder. No, that's a great question. I'm so glad you asked, because we met actually doing murder mystery dinner, comedy dinner theater. Lance was writing and directing and acting in these murder mystery dinner theater plays in mostly Massachusetts, some in New Hampshire. And I was an actor, studying acting, and was also bartending and worked with one of the actors in the troupe. And so I got introduced to Lance. This is going back to like 2002 or somewhere in that range.
Yep.
Babe, that's right up your alley, babe.
I love it. I'm so excited. I have a master's degree in theater as well. So I'm
no
like,
way.
yay, you're actors.
Yeah,
And I mean, it doesn't
Yep.
get more serious acting than a dinner theater.
I mean,
And a
you have to-
murder mystery dinner theater at that.
That was
Yeah, it is.
just the best. It was so fun.
It was so fun.
many stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much alcohol.
Yeah, we drank a lot of alcohol. We tore it up, acting like crazy people, but playing really crazy roles too, and having a lot of fun with it. I think that was why the audience seemed to like it, because we definitely were having fun ourselves.
Yeah, right along with them. And I say this all the time, but it's true, and it's funny. Like when we were doing it, this was in the early 2000s. We would say to each other, like, God, I don't want to be doing murder mystery dinner theaters when I'm 40. And then we turned 40 and we were like, I'd give anything to do murder mystery dinner theater again. And that's true.
That's awesome. Let me ask you this. I can't believe it's already been an hour. Let me guys ask you this.
Oh, sure.
For someone who wants to get into podcasting, you guys are like experts now. Any advice you would give to someone who's trying to get into doing podcasts?
Don't
Don't do it.
No, just kidding. No, podcasting's great. I mean, I love the medium so much. It really is really different from the other medium. So I think whatever you choose to do, like look at it like that, because I really think podcasting especially moves with listeners when it's very personal, because it's almost exclusively listened to personally by just that one person with their earbuds or in their car or wherever. And, it's making people feel something when it's at its best, So I think when you dig really deep into something and you've done a lot more research than the person listening could do in a few minutes, and you pour your heart into it, like that comes across too. Like that's one of the things that you definitely can't, it's not tangible, but like hearing someone's voice, get emotional, or just the energy that they put into it. It really does transfer through the microphone and the headphones.
Yeah. And I would say, don't get frustrated when you haven't seen like instant numbers, because instant numbers, instant downloads are so rare. Just stay consistent and stay honest with yourself. If you are doing true crime, like you have to be pretty accurate with your details. But if you make a mistake, admit you made a mistake, for God's sake. Just admit you made the mistake. People are going to appreciate you much more, and they'll listen a lot more when they know that you're being honest with them and you. If you're not doing true crime, then just be consistent. And again, if you're not doing, if you anger somebody, just acknowledge all of those things. Acknowledge the things that are not accurate or not correct, and move on and learn and do better. And people like that a lot more than just like that bullheadedness of like, you can do no wrong because you managed to buy yourself a microphone and upload to an RSS feed.
What about if you anger someone but you didn't do anything wrong? How do you handle that, Lance?
That's never happened to me. No. Good question. If you
it happens to me all the time, and I'm new to this, and I'm trying to learn. Especially I curse. I get a lot of shit for that, but I'm curious, like how you guys respond to comments and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, it's just like you got to see like the tone of the comment, right? Like, is it bait? Are they just trying to bait you? And it's fine. Like, if you like, what are you doing wrong? Are you swearing and they're upset and they're offended? Then don't watch or listen. Like, keep doing your thing. If that's how your show is, that's how your show is. Like, that's not their show. That's their. There's 4 million other ones that they can listen to.
Yeah, that's pretty much my response. It's just annoying, but go ahead, babe. I feel
like they started with a podcast and they were like with super trolls. for you guys were like
yeah,
dealing with super trolls. So now it probably doesn't feel like, it probably feels a lot more casual. I don't know that you I mean, they were like making videos, babe. It was like, we don't get stuff like that.
What do you mean making videos?
I'm just saying, like, there was just like, well, I'll brief you on all this. We'll
Okay,
go all the way.
Well, yeah.
We only, how many episodes have we had? We only had to take down one episode, right? In the early days
Of missing Maura Murray. Yeah. I think out of like 150. But yeah, I mean, we did get like death threats and a lot of like veiled threats and like DMs and a lot of cryptic threats mailed directly to our houses. Our address is posted online. That was actually two separate incidents because they posted the wrong addresses, but the intent was there.
Holy shit! All right, I'm gonna stop complaining then. Yeah, you're right, babe. We don't get that.
See, it's just middle-aged white women that get upset with you. It's fine. I mean, they get upset with everybody.
Yeah,
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, there's a certain things, that are just gonna be upsetting to people. We did an episode recently of missing, and we got more criticism on that one, I think, than any in the past like year. And I think we were pretty hard on the police and the psychiatrist of the missing person, but and actually the parents of that missing woman were kind of annoyed too, and they called us, and so we talked to them and understood why they were annoyed, and we had them on and they corrected any mistakes we made, and we moved on. But that doesn't stop like people who hear that first episode like last week or something, and then they'll be like, oh, this show sucks, they're so anti-law enforcement, and it's like, well, no, actually, no, we're really not. And listen to the next episode because we made we kind of made amends for maybe if we said anything stupid. So
all right, let me ask one final question. What's the best way, how can we support you guys, like, other than like giving the pod 5 stars? How can we support you guys the best way?
Other than mailing us checks?
Yeah. other than sending you cash. If you want. You got a cash app? I'll share a cash app if you want. What do you got?
Yeah, following the shows would be great. A rating and review would be great. Check out Dark Valley, Crawlspace, and Missing. Missing and Crawlspace are weekly shows, and Dark Valley had its first season end in, I think, October. And definitely check that out because it's 12 episodes and just amazing. I promise you, if you like true crime stuff, you're going to get really into that story.
Awesome. I just shared the link. So guys, go out there, check it out, give it 5 stars, do what you always do. Babe, do you have any final thoughts?
No, just thank you guys for coming on.
Oh, absolutely.
I thank you for allowing me to fangirl a little bit. Thank you.
Anytime. We could keep going if you wanted.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much for
guys,
having us.
This is going to send to Steve's show. We're like you guys, we support our buddies. Steve, Publicly Buzzed, doing a show on that Alaska case, folks. Going to talk about the witness who stole the SD card and her story, which was pretty wild. So check that out at 9. This should take you there. This should portal you over there. Guys, thank you so much. Our first creators who crush of 2024. And have a good night, everybody.
Yeah.